verse. A lot of y'all didn't even know. Wait, there's more? There's more. There's more. Psalm 139:14. There is definitely more. Let's get into it. Go ahead. You can open up your Bible. Psalm 139:14. Oh, we're going to break this thing down. And I'll be reading it in the NIV version. It says, I praise you because, oh, snap, crackle, and pop. That's the first words in that verse. I praise you. That's the first thing we're saying in there. We like to focus on us. Well, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Boo-boo, it ain't about you. That verse has nothing to do with you. All right? It has nothing to do with you. The first words are, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Lord God, we thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and to hear your word, to be able to understand your word and accept your word, that we may be able to live it out. I pray, God, that you speak. I pray that ears are open. I pray that it is planted on fertile ground, that it may produce fruit, God. First, in your holy and precious name that we pray this prayer. Amen. All right, so the rest of it is saying, your works are wonderful. I know that full well. This is not a lady's verse. It's not. Have you ever heard a guy say, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made? Gentlemen, have you ever, okay, you're a bit eclectic. Okay, I believe you. You're a bit eclectic. Gentlemen, do you walk around and saying, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made? We're talking about the majority of guys. We're not normally hearing guys claim this. And it is because of what we've made the verse to be. We made it become the woman verse. It is that woman who has this full confidence in herself. It is that woman who be like, I know I'm bad. Bam, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Hashtag fearfully wonderfully made. Hashtag I know I'm bad. Hashtag bad woman's club. Hashtag boom, all this, right? So we don't actually acknowledge the fact that a man wrote this. A man was speaking when he said these words. It was not a woman. It was not at a women's conference. It was not at a ladies' conference. It was not at a young women's conference. It was a man who said these words. Why did this man say this? It's because, once again, is it about you? It ain't about you. It's about God. So starting off, we have to understand that God is the subject of this verse. You are not the subject. I'm not the subject, but God is the subject. And we see that in the beginning and in the end. It says, I praise you because. Why am I praising you? Because I recognize that you made me. You made me fearfully and wonderfully. And then it comes back to the focus on God again. Your works are wonderful. It brings up how I know them, know your works well. So we got to first understand that this verse has nothing to do with us, but it is completely about the Creator. We've made the verse about the creation, when in fact, it is the creation that is acknowledging the Creator in this verse. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to break this thing down. We're going to break it down word for word, as we said. So we're acknowledging the Creator, ergo, I praise you, or I give you thanks. So we're understanding that there is a Creator. So it's deeper than I'm just here, this is just me. I'm acknowledging that I was made by someone. And in the first thing he says, he doesn't say that I was just made by you. He said I was made fearfully. Now, I had a struggle. Like, I had a problem with fearfully. I'm like, help me understand, what does it mean to be made fearfully, right? So what exactly does that mean? I had to break that down. All right, so fearfully. Y'all let me know what y'all thought it was meant to be fearfully. Fab. Hey, Fab, that's why you're not here. Shout out, Fab. Max, Mark, Ricky, what's up? Happy you guys are tuned in. All right, so I'm going to break down fearfully. Now, when I looked up this word, fearfully, in the Hebrew, it said what we know fear to be. It's saying fear. It's saying to revere. And I was like, no, that can't be what it means. It can't be. I was expecting it to mean something way deeper, like, oh, fearfully. So that means he really thought about it. It was intense. It was skillful. Like, no, it just means revere. It means revere and fear, which you already know fearfully to be. And I'm like, okay, so what sense does that make according to this verse? And what it's saying is, as I look at what you created, you look at the human being, you look at the person, you realize what we are. it automatically should create this level of reverence for the Creator. It should automatically create this level of, oh my, God is so God for you to have made this. And for some reason, we think of that only like in certain arts. We'll see certain arts and be like, man, this person mind crazy. How did you come up with this? Automatically we reflect in minds. Or we look at people who are sick and be like, you're sick in the head. Something's wrong with you if you made this. You realize how easy we can go ahead and relate a creation back to the Creator if we don't agree with the Creator? Like when something said, like we look at Frankenstein, right? Creating Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein, you crazy. You just took a whole bunch of dead bodies, you cut them up, you sewn them together. Something's wrong with you. How did your head formulate that? But yet you don't ever look at how intricate you are. I don't think we understand how intricate we are. Just the type of art that human being is. In your body right now, there are many systems that are working. You have the respiratory system. You have the digestive system. You have the reproductive system. You don't control any of these systems. You don't tell yourself when to breathe. I could knock you out cold and you still would breathe. You do not tell you when to breathe. And it's so crazy. The more I talk about breathing, it's harder to breathe because now I'm thinking about it and I'm trying to control it. You feel me? It's like, whew, that's a word right there. Realize when you actually become conscious of it, it's harder for you to do it. Because it's not something that you yourself are controlling. So that's something we got to understand. You see how intricate that is? To realize while you're breathing in, your lungs take oxygen, and as blood is going through, it picks up the oxygen, drops it off wherever in your body, wherever it needs it, picking up carbon dioxide to put back into your lungs that you can breathe that out. That is crazy. You can't tell, hey, red blood cell, pick up that one, right? You don't even know what's going on in there. You have no idea what's going on in there, right? And then we have our digestive system. That's crazy. The only part we do with that is we eat. We choose what food we want to eat. But our bodies go ahead and it does its own thing on its own. Nobody needs to tell it what to do. You look at a baby will tell you, I'm ready to eat now. This child can't talk, can't walk, can't even sit up. Sit up, baby. Keep your head straight. The baby can't even keep his head straight. But yet, the digestive system is already working. You have the reproductive system. You don't get to choose when the baby is formed. Women, we don't get to choose when we ovulate. We don't get to choose when that time is. I know a lot of us wish we could, but we can't. That's all right, girl. We have no control over that. You understand how intricate your body is. When you look at that, that's what it's saying by like fearfully. So, wow, God, you made all of that in this? How? How did you manage? You thought of all of this. As he's making man, he thought, I'm going to create the digestive system. I'm going to create the reproductive system. As he's forming, because we only like to think of the clay, you realize what it actually was turned into. You realize when he blew his breath, what actually came forth. This is something intricate. You are intricate. You ever thought of your saliva? Nah, nobody think about saliva. Where we going? Like, what saliva? Something like, oh, it's just spit. You know what your spit actually does? It's something so small. First off, it helps to moisten food so that when you swallow it, you don't choke. Make it nice so you go ahead, swallow your food down. Did you also know that it holds antibacterials in it? So it helps to fight off certain bacteria. It also balances acid in food. So that way, your teeth don't get messed up when you're eating certain foods. It's crazy. All of this is spit. That's just spit. And yet look how intricate just your spit is. We look at that. How do you not sit back and go, by golly, wow, God, what kind of master artist are you? Do you understand that this is all in you? This had nothing to do with you. Realize this part of you being this intricate, you having this amount of excellence in you had nothing to do with you. This is what it means by saying you're fearfully made. So as you look at you saying, I'm fearfully made, there was intention that was behind it when I was made. God thought this thing out. It was by an intelligent creator. So when we look at that to realize I'm fearfully, so when you look at you and be like, I'm fearfully made, it automatically evokes a praise. No wonder the psalmist started off with, I praise you. And then when we look at wonderfully, because if something like, okay, cool, wonderful, all right, no, that's not what it meant in the Hebrew. It meant distinct. So I'm like, what do you mean by distinct? Yes, we're all human, we're all people. You may even look like somebody else, but there is something about you that somebody else does not have. There will never be another you. You realize out of everybody in the world, nobody ever shares a fingerprint? Does that not blow your mind? Our fingerprints are specific to us. You can have kids, you can have identical twins, they could look alike, they could share all this, y'all could even finish each other's sentences, y'all could say the same thing at the same time. You'll never have my fingerprint. You'll never have 100% of my DNA. So that comes to tell me, God cared that much that even though I may look like somebody else, he made sure there is something that only you have, that no one else has. That's not something you could put up to chance. If it's chance, 1 out of how many people would at least share the same fingerprint? It would happen. It may be extremely rare, but we would have cases. We're at a place where that does not exist at all. You are distinct. So when God made you, he made you distinct. Last week we spoke about being distinct. He made that already in your DNA. It's already formulated in who you are, that you can only be you. You can try to be somebody else, but at the end of the day, you're not hiding your DNA. You're not hiding that fingerprint. You're not hiding that. That thing about you that only you have, you can never get rid of that. That is you 100%. So now we look at that, realizing now, being fearfully and being wonderfully made. Then the psalmist comes and he says, how marvelous are your works. Would you not say that at the end of the day when you stop and think of, wow, what is an art like man? Truly, how marvelous are your works? How excellent are the things that you are making? You took time to make me this intricate, this distinct. There is a special art in the art called man. It's something special about that man. Something very special about this art. So the psalmist at a place where he's coming back and finishing it up in praise. Realize he said, I'm praising you. Then he said the reason why he's praising God. And he continues with the praise because as he reflects, marvelous are your works. I know them well. Now, with knowing them well, it's not that he fully understands it. It's that he understands he doesn't understand it. He sees what is made. He gets a gist of it. And just in that, he is left in awe. It's not a place where he fully understands. We don't fully understand ourselves. We can look at the brain. It's so funny how we can separate the brain and the mind. I honestly am just blown away. This is a hard side note. Side note, I'm really blown away at like the consciousness of people. Like, I feel that just shows how much like God is so real for you to think of like your subconscious is working and you have no idea what it's doing, when it's doing it, but there it is just working. Like you ever been doing something out of nowhere, boom, you had an idea like, oh, that's the answer. That's the solution. That's this. Did you know that when you are stuck on something, it's actually recommended that you leave it alone? Go, take a break, because your subconscious is still working out the problem.
I didn't know that.
Which is why when you're just hanging out of nowhere, you go, that's what it is. You go, eureka! You have your little eureka moment, and you run back. Your subconscious was constantly working on that thing the whole time. It is crazy to be like, there's this part of me that I don't even know that's continuously working. How could we not acknowledge that there is a God? Like, that is just crazy. And then there's that part that says, I know it well. I don't know everything that you're doing, God. I don't fully understand everything you're doing. If I did, then at that moment, it's either I am God or you're not that great of a God. We don't fully understand it all. And I'm fully okay with not understanding it all. He's God. I'm not. My mind is too small to be able to hold all of that. But what I do see, it leaves me in this place of awe. See, because we can look at science, right? Gravity is something that's greater than all of us. But scientists understand gravity. There's an understanding of it. So much so, they can mimic it. So much so, they can even manipulate it. As astronauts are getting ready, they will have chambers with less gravity in it. They can have chambers where it's more gravity. It's basically Dragon Ball Z. You go to a place where there's more gravity, and then you train and you fight, and then you come back on Earth where there's less gravity, and then you can fight even more. So yeah, so it's the whole Dragon Ball Z thing. Shout out to people who got it. A lot of people looking at me like, what is he talking about? Okay, so, wow, okay, yeah, I'll pray for you. All right, so, but here's to understand, when people understand anything, the moment you understand anything, you have reduced its power. The moment you fully understand, you've reduced its power. Yes, gravity is greater, but there's such an understanding where we can now create and manipulate gravity. God is so great, we only understand bits of him. There's no manipulation that can happen. You will never fully understand. I think our minds would explode. We can't even begin to even scratch the surface of who God is. But that alone evokes a praise in me. Like, God, you are so God. I can't even put another word. I just have to describe God with God. So much so, God described himself with himself. I am that I am. You want to know who I am? I am that I am. But who sent me? I am that I am. But like, who you? I am. That I am. God's like, I don't know what other word you want me to tell you. Like, there's no word to describe me. That's one reason why, like, I love the fact I can speak in more than one language, because I can just keep saying the same word, but I can say it also in a different language, so I feel like it gives me more words to say when I want to talk to God. But like, good, great, wonderful, merveilleux, ou tout puissant. The same thing, just a different language. I'm like, yay, dope. I could totally do that. So I find that great, just to be like, God, you're so big. It's like, I don't have enough words. Big is too small. What's my mind of even what big is? So most time you hear me say, like, God is just so God. God is so God. And I'm loving that. So we're not understanding that we were made fearfully and we were made wonderfully. So we got Psalm 139:14. So now I think it's only right that we actually look at when the first man and woman were created. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go to Genesis 1, verse 26. These kids are lit. Spouts is lit right now. Wow. What's up, Lena? What's up, T? What's going on, Web? Happy you guys are here. Our line crew is here. We here. All right, so Genesis 1:26. I'm actually not going to read it, but I'm happy you guys have it. Okay, so in this verse, we're seeing the creation of man happening. Awesome thing is we have this 5-day chorus where God is speaking and things are being formed. So you have 5 days of let there be, this beautiful poetry that just creates things, that things will form, where nature just has to respond. We get to the 6th day, and I know we like to focus so much on the 6th day, how like, with man, God didn't speak us into existence. He loved us so much. He picked up dirt. He formed it. He blew his breath in it. And it's just this beautiful thing, because it's this level of this intimacy with man being formed. Because you think about, how's a baby formed? It's woven. It is hidden from the rest of the world. And it is just in a place where it's just being formed until it is ready to come out. Same way we see with Adam and Eve. They were being formed. They were cradled in the hands of God until that time came. And then here they are, man, and you have woman. But here's something we did not realize or we lost the focus on. God still spoke on the 6th day. The day he created man, he was still speaking. The difference is he went from let there be to let us make. In your creation story, there was a conversation. Nothing else that was created do we ever see that there was a conversation. But when it came to creating man, they had to have a conversation about it. There had to be a meeting. So it came together like, let us make. So right now you're understanding that there's a conversation that's happening. There's talking that's happening right now. Let us make. So it was a conference. And not just was there conversation, but with the creation of man, there's a point of reference. Everything was, let there be light, and there was light. Let there be skies. Let there be a sun to rule the day and a moon to rule the night. With man, he went, let us make man in our image and our likeness. To create you, God looked at himself. He referenced himself in making you. He looked at who he was and then to make you. So no, you're not just a thought. There was a point of reference when it came to you. Image, likeness. So when I looked up those words, it was saying a resemblance or a model. So when you look at a model, like when an architect, when they're making a building, they'll have a model. It looks exactly like the real thing is going to look like. It has everything that it's going to have. The only difference is in the size and, of course, the material it's made out of. So you were created to be a model. So that means when I see you, I should see God in you. When I talk to you, I should hear God in you. When you have an experience with me, you should have an experience with the God in me. I was created to model Christ. I was created to model God. It was already in who I was already made to be. So we're made in the image and in the likeness of God, yet we're not fully living out in that image. We're not fully living out in that. And before I go ahead and I go deeper into that, I want to point out, after the whole point that there was a reference, that there was also an invitation. Let us make man in our image and our likeness. We were invited into this image now. So if God is speaking of, he's saying our image, guess what? We belong in that image too. Our likeness, we belong into that as well. He invited us into that. So there's a special thing that us humans have that no other creation have. And like I said earlier, but we have lost sight of that. We've lost sight of that. And I love it because Isaac actually touched up on it one day. He's like, Eve was so consumed with wanting to be God-like, she totally missed the fact that she was already created in the image of God. She wanted to be like God. She forgot that she was already created God-like. And that's us right now. We forgot, or we have completely misplaced the fact that we were created in the image of God. And all that came was from a seed of doubt. A seed of doubt that the devil planted. Because you have to understand something. Whenever the devil wants to attack your mission, your purpose, anything that you have to do, he attacks your identity. Because he himself had an identity crisis. Devil's in heaven. He decided he don't want to sing anymore. He feels like he should be God. You have an identity crisis. You understand who you are. You over here, you trying to be somebody else. Gets kicked out of heaven. What he does? He gives Eve an identity crisis. Did God really say? Oh, no. See, the thing is, you will end up being like God yourself. You end up being like God. Identity crisis. Because if Eve understood who she already was, who God created her to be, she could step and be like, hold on, I don't need to be God myself or try to hold this type of image because I was already created in the image of God. You're not going to come and try to sell me nothing. But she went and abandoned having the identity in Christ, and she accepted the identity crisis. You have the devil coming to Jesus, trying to attack his identity. To the point where Jesus say like, no, bro, you don't know who I am. I am the Lord. That's the first time he ever spoke out loud and said who he was. It was to defend who he was. We don't defend who we are in terms of who God has created us to be. Which is why when someone says something about you, you take it. How can they tell you who you are? They didn't make you. God wasn't in conversation with them when the thought of you was being brought up. Do you understand that even before you were formed in the belly that you were known by God? Meaning you were already here. Don't let the physical manifestation of you limit you. This is not who you are. You were here before that body was formed. And before that body was formed, God already knew who you were. He already knew what he called you to be. He already placed that purpose in you. And in you being born was now go out and live it. That's what that is. Your identity is already found in Christ because he's the one who created you. It is in him. So it's not what your mama said. All right? Mama, we love you, dearest, but you don't know any better. You don't know. You don't. This time you brought me into the world. You took me out. Actually, don't correct your mama. I don't know what she's going to do. Don't, but you hold that in your heart. Well, the Lord knew me before. Okay, don't. Be careful. I'm telling you. But no, I understand she birthed you, but she doesn't know. Parents get it wrong. Parents definitely get it wrong because they have a vision for what they want for you, but what's the vision that God wanted for me? We'll get it wrong because we have a certain vision we have for ourselves. We have a plan mapped out, but what did God intend for me to do with my life? And that's why we got to bring it back. We got to bring it back to that moment. Okay, God, you knew me before. What did you know me as? Who did you know me as before I came into this world? Who is it that you made me to be? And I'll let you know one thing is you were created in the image of excellence, so you are excellent. You were created in the image of greatness. Guess what? You're great. No one could take that away from you. Who could take away your image from God? Your image of God. No one could take that away from you. What happens is you give it up. You give it up. Eve gave it up. All the devil does is talk. That's all he does. He just talks. But you know what? The power of life and death is where? It's in the tongue. You have that power. You have the power of life. You have the power of death. Did God not speak to create light? Why are you not creating when you speak? We actually have become really versed in our power of death. I think we're really good at killing people with words. But if you only understood that your words can create, your words bring forth things. Again, whose image were you created in? So you can speak and things can be created. You can speak into yourself. There was darkness before God spoke. He said, let there be light, and there was light. What darkness are you going through? What darkness is it that you see of yourself? You need to speak light over yourself. Let there be light in the way that I think towards me. See, because here's the thing. We go out and we kill people with words because we are feeding ourselves life, ourselves. If I don't speak life in myself, why do you think I'm going to speak life in anybody else? There's a reason why Jesus said, love others as you love yourself. The love I give me is the love I'm going to give you. So if I'm projecting hate onto you, I'm sorry, it's just that I hate myself. And I'm only giving you what I have. But if I can love me, I can love you. I can tell you you're great. I can tell you you're excellent. I can see that you were created fearfully and wonderfully, and I can appreciate what God has done in you. You encouraging somebody else does not demean you. It doesn't take away anything from you. How do you acknowledging that this person is great make you less great? This isn't a seesaw. That's not the way life works. You have the power of life. Use it. Speak it. Speak it over yourself. Living a life of mediocrity is an insult to who you are and to who God is. Because you were created in the image of excellence. So everything you do should reflect who you are. Realize God can't behave outside of himself. He is love. Therefore, everything he does is in love. He cannot behave outside of that because to behave outside of that is for him to be outside of himself. You were created in excellence, which means everything you do is to be excellent. For you to behave outside of that is not true to who you were made to be. So at the end of the day, when you look back throughout the day, Do you look back at what the works that your hands have made and go, it was good? Because if you didn't, you're not living out to the potential of what you were created to be. God created and he went, it is good. You have the power to create every day. Wherever you are, there needs to be this, whoa, okay. Like, I don't know what's with you, but wow. At the end of the day, there should be some haters. I don't know who she thinks she is. It's like, I don't know who she thinks. She knows who she is. Don't walk around here trying to be arrogant, okay? Because what makes you excellent makes the next person excellent. I need us to understand that, all right? Everyone is created fearfully and wonderfully. It comes down to you living in it. Live in that. So in order for you to be excellent, you must first understand that you are excellent. And you understanding that you are excellent is all rooted in who he is, in who made you excellent to begin with. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to have the same attitude that the psalmist had when he said, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works. I know them well. When I look at who I am, when I look at who you are, I give God praise because I see who God is in you. Because you too are a reflection of it. All of us hold a different side, a different part of God. God is too big. That's why all of us can't be the same. God is so God. That's why all of us can't look the same. All of us can't behave the same because we all are God image bearers. We all bear image of God. Every single last one of us does. I need to acknowledge that image that is in you. And I need to acknowledge that image that is in me. And I give God praise for that. So right now, let's give God praise right now for what he has created in you, what he has created in me. You need to give God praise for who you are and for who he has made everyone else to be. I was actually expecting the music to start by then, but it didn't, so I don't really know what's going to happen right there. They're just kind of just sitting here. Away in the middle. But I give God praise for every single last one of you here. And it's time for you to give God praise for you being here and for that other person next to you. We can't hate on each other if I'm recognizing that you were created intentionally by God, that God, he made you fearfully and he made you wonderfully. I can't hate on who you are if I'm acknowledging who made you. And that's what we need to get to. Let's get to this place where we are acknowledging God. Mighty are his works. Wonderful are his works. Sister, brother, you are his works. So you are great. You are excellent. So go out and be excellent.